Get your free copy of the complete tutorial at www.teachucomp.com/free.
You can use a data model in Excel to store multiple tables of information. You can then use the data model as a data source for pivot tables, pivot charts, Power Pivot, and 3D maps. Note that Excel lets you add a selected table to a data model when manually creating a pivot table. This effectively lets you use a relational data source within Excel. Excel automatically creates relationships between tables in the data model when your analysis requires linking two or more tables. However, you can also manually create relationships between the data in table fields in Excel. Doing this lets you relate them as needed for your reports. The tables saved into the data model in an Excel workbook can be tables within Excel worksheets or external data tables. This lesson shows you how to create a data model in Excel from external relational data, like a Microsoft Access database file. If you choose to import multiple tables or queries from an existing relational data source, the data model is automatically created. To import any type of data into an Excel workbook's data model, click the Data tab in the ribbon. Then click the Desired button within the Get and Transform Data button group. These buttons have been redesigned to add more modern data connection types in Excel 2019 and Office 365. For example, to add tables from an Access database to the data model in Excel, click the Get Data drop-down button in the Get and Transform Data button group on the Data tab of the ribbon. Then roll your mouse pointer down to the From Database command. Then click or tap the From Microsoft Access Database command in the side menu that appears. After doing that, the Import Data dialog box then appears. Use this dialog box to navigate to and then select the desired Access database file to open. Then click the Import button within the dialog box to continue. Excel then connects to the selected Access database file. It then opens the Navigator dialog box, which shows the database and also its tables and queries in the left pane of the dialog box. To enable the ability to select multiple tables and queries from the database, check the Select Multiple Items checkbox at the top of the left pane in this dialog box. Then check the checkboxes next to the tables or queries to add to the data model in the Excel workbook. As you select a table or a query, a preview of its data appears in the right pane within the dialog box. If you check an Access table to select it, and then also want to select any related Access tables as defined by the Relationships window in the Access database, then you can click the Select Related Tables button in the lower left corner of the Navigator window to also check and select that table's related tables too. To then load the checked tables and queries into the data model, click the Load button in the lower right corner of this dialog box. The tables and queries you selected then appear within the Queries and Connections pane that appears at the right side of the Excel screen. Clicking the Queries label at the top of the pane shows the connected tables and queries. Clicking the Connections label at the top of the pane shows the name of the workbook's data model and any other workbook connections. When viewing the tables and queries within the Queries list, you can hover your mouse pointer over a table or query name to view a pop-up menu of the tables or queries attributes, followed by a menu of data manipulation commands you can perform on the table or query. Alternatively, to load the data directly into the workbook and also add it to the data model from within the Navigator dialog box, click the drop-down part of the Load button in the lower right corner of the Navigator dialog box. Then select the Load To command from the drop-down menu that appears to open the Import Data dialog box. We'll examine using this dialog box momentarily. Alternatively, if you have already loaded tables and queries into your data model, you can also load data from a table or query into a worksheet by clicking the Queries label at the top of the Queries and Connections pane. Note that you can both hide and show the Queries and Connections pane, by clicking the Queries and Connections button in the Queries and Connections button group on the Data tab of the ribbon. Then hover your mouse pointer over the table or query to load to view its pop-up menu. Click the ellipsis mark button in the menu at the bottom of the pop-up menu to view a drop-down menu. Then click the Load To command in this drop-down menu to also open the Import Data dialog box. In the Import Data dialog box, choose the option you prefer within the Select How You Want to View This Data in Your Workbook section. Then choose where to place the data by selecting an option within the Where Do You Want to Put the Data section. Note that if you select the Only Create Connection option in the first section, then you won't need to select a worksheet location in the second section. If you have not yet added the data to the data model, ensure that the Add this data to the data model checkbox in this dialog box is checked to do that as you add it to the worksheet. After deciding how to add the data and where to place the data, click the OK button to finish. While this lesson specifically shows you how to add external relational database data from Microsoft Access to the data model, you can also select other relational database choices from the side menu that appears when you click the Get Data drop-down button in the Get and Transform Data button group on the Data tab of the ribbon, and then roll your mouse pointer over the From Database command. However, each specific type of database connector that then launches uses its own unique wizard to help prompt you through the steps required to connect to that specific type of database. Therefore, the importing options vary widely based on the selected type of database to import. Simply read and follow the instructions in each screen to provide the required database connection information and select the desired database tables and queries to import to the data model.
Like what you see? Pick up your free copy of the complete tutorial at www.teachucomp.com/free.